All right, so I just want to point out something here is that this orchid is about to have another flowers for me. Um, I think we have this orchid for about 3 years. This is where the original flowers was from before. Once it's done flower, it dries off, and now this one is starting to form a little flower right here, and you can see through it. It has some discolorations on the leaf. It's probably because we left it outside and forgot to bring it in. So, but it's doing great. And it's going to be so lovely whenever it blooms. And this is a little grass. So you can see that the orchid loves it when it's moist and there's a lot of moss in there. I have another orchid here. This is an offspring of another orchid that it came off of the mother plant, and so we put it into this container, and the container here has a little hole at the bottom, and so as you can see, the moisture just soaks up and keeps the orchid growing and healthy. We have another orchid here that is also about to bloom. It has multiple buds coming out of the stems, and this is a different kind of orchid. This one is a camellia orchid. This type of orchid, you can get this at a grocery store where you live, any place that sells regular orchid. These here are cuttings of the teardrops, but what unique about this is that because this container, it doesn't have very much hole in it, and it keeps the roots within the container, so it creates a little bit of greenhouse lighting for the orchids. And so we keep it like this, that way the roots can attracts more lights, so that way it grows healthy. And then this little orchid here, we actually have it grown on a stump, and as you can see, it's producing a lot of new roots. And if we like to multiply this particular orchid, we can by cutting the cutting here and then attach it to moss, and we can attach it to any pieces of wood that is on the similar to this. Just use a fish net, and then their root is really kicking off. See that? There's new roots forming everywhere. On the side, there's air roots, and the orchids is doing fantastic. You can actually hang this up in your greenhouse or hang it up on any area of your house, but we have it hang in the kitchen sill with we have a little plate in the bottom, so that way it doesn't leach water everywhere and create a big mess in our kitchen. But as you can see, it's doing fantastic and is actually growing beautifully. New leaves are forming, and we can actually take a cutting of it and propagate it. We also have this orchid here. As you can see, that it has a little bit of sun damage to the leaf. However, the external leaf still attracts light to keep the orchids healthy. So it's very unique how this happened, is that we left the orchid outside so it can get sun. And what ended up happening is that too much sun isn't good for your orchid, and so the sun burned directly right here, and then it burns right here. Well, Yes, this orchid is a little bit hurt by the sun, but it's still growing beautifully by fact that there's new growth in the middle, and also the stem is providing new buds here. So with the new buds, there will be flowers. And orchids are very, very resilient no matter how damage it is in the leaf. It's still growing strong, and it's still so when I was kind of sad to see that the sun got into the leaves, but good thing that we did not cut the leaf off, because if we cut the leaf off, it will probably hurt the orchid and it will not flower. But as you can see here, the roots at the bottom are very healthy, and they're in moss. And basically we kept it in this pot here, but normally we just let the orchid do its thing. So hopefully we have because we have new growth here at the bottom of the leaves here, hopefully we'll get an offspring and it will form into something like this one over here, where you can see that it's the same particular orchids, store-bought orchids, and this little guy is doing fantastic. But he's not flowering yet because it's not mature yet. But these orchids here, this one is mature. It is damaged by the sun, but it is surviving no matter what it deals with. So it generates new growth, and it's healing itself no matter that it has been eaten up by the sun. It's just still doing its thing, and it's growing fantastic, which that's the reason why blooming season is coming and it's budding for us. Otherwise it's gonna be it won't thrive. So as you can see, one stalk here, it has 1, 2, 3 stalk coming out from one stalk, and each of the form of the stalk, these are buds from the orchids. So there are 1, 2 main stalks, and it comes out to 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 stalks, and each of these stalks have buds forming, so that way it can bloom in at the blooming season. So particularly this is a wonderful experience. And so when you have damaged orchids, or if it has been accidentally damaged by your doing or by whatnot, just keep it going, and it will survive. Because look at this, it looked like a heart almost, but it's been burned by the sun. This has been burned by the sun. This has been burned by the sun. But because it's very resilient, it's still forming new leaves, and it's still doing great. So good things we did not cut the leaves, because if we cut the leaves, it will cause issue to our orchids and the new growth will not come out. Good luck, and I love it. It's so beautiful, and I cannot wait until it blooms so I can show you what the flowers look like.